I watched the Dodgers win the NL West title at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles last night, and I'm fully convinced that Mariners fans are being fed gruel and told it's lobster. That's coming up on this episode of Bleav in Mariners. That's right. What is up, sports fans? What is up, Mariners fans? Schultzy, a Pacific Northwest talk show host, Jordon Schultz, sitting in with you, talking about a very, very disappointed end to the Mariners season. This is episode 13 of Bleav in Mariners, and I taped this with just 3 episodes to go, or excuse me, 3 games to go in the regular season. Actually, in Los Angeles, in a hotel room, not in my normal home studio that I taped this in, so I apologize. There's a little bit of an echo going on that I did try to fix, but we are in a hotel room, so it's definitely just a little bit of a different setting than we're usually in. But a reason for that, taking a trip to Los Angeles, was able to catch a Dodgers game, and that kind of formed a lot of my opinions for the episode that I'm putting out on Bleav in Mariners number 13. And let me tell you what, Seattle Mariners fans, we've really got to talk. Like, sit down with owner John Stanton, sit down with president and former general manager Jerry Dipoto, now Justin Hollander in the general manager spot. Not sure if he could actually get anything done, but we need to sit down with this Mariners team that could finish the year with 85 wins, but at this point sitting 82-77 out of the playoffs officially on Thursday, September 26th, because of the Royals and Tigers both getting a win. I think the Tigers came back from behind to get the win. So just, I would say it's definitely been a frustrating season, but the Mariners torture chamber that has been the 2024 season is over. All right, fans. So we can, I'm here with you. We can thankfully make it out to the other side. After that up and down, it was fun to see, and it'll be nice to see the last 3 games as well. It was fun to see the offensive surge, one of the best in baseball in the last month, and really giving Mariners fans a taste, I think, of what Jerry Dipoto was asking for from his roster earlier in the season. But really, there weren't 2 pieces on that roster that were making it look like it did at the end of the season. And no, I'm not talking Dan Wilson and Edgar Martinez. I'm talking Justin Turner, former LA Dodger, and saw a lot of Turner fans and a lot of Turner jerseys at Dodger Stadium last night, and Randy Arozarena, who the Dodgers were actually in on. So, the Mariners, of course, existing, almost 50 years now. After going to last night's game, and I get it, it's Dodger Stadium. This is, a team that spends the most money in all of baseball. They spent $1 billion essentially, to bring in a couple of players, actually more than $1 billion, to bring in Yamamoto and Shohei Ohtani in the last offseason, and that doesn't even count all the guys that they've traded for throughout the season. Jack Flaherty, just to try to get their pitching staff sewn up because they've had so many injuries. But the LA Dodgers, and really beyond the team itself, beyond the franchise experience, the fan experience that you get when you go to Dodger Stadium, we're missing out. We're missing out, fans. Mariners fans have a good time. We get loud, but we do not have a party like the Dodgers fans do down in Los Angeles, and there's a reason for that. And I would say 11 of 12 is the reason for that, right? The Dodgers, with that last win over the Padres, clinched the NL West Division title for 11 of 12 times in the last 12 seasons. That is just unbelievable. Yeah, we can debate whether or not the World Series championship in the 2020 COVID season is actually legitimate or not, but that's not really my point. And I was kind of even joking with my wife about that last night when we were sitting there drinking our margarita in our Modelo. But the Dodgers experience made me realize that I am missing out on something as a Seattle Mariners fan. And it's something that I wonder if owner John Stanton has ever gone to any other ballparks and gone to another team's baseball game. This is kind of what I'm talking about, fans. We've really got to have a talk with John Stanton and Jerry Dipoto about the state of the Seattle Mariners, because there's 2 things I really want to get across here. The Mariners fans in this episode, are being fed gruel and told it's lobster. And we really, really need to accept that. We really need to stop with the teal colored glasses. And guys, I am the biggest fan of this team. I am as big of a fan as anybody. And frankly, the fact that my podcast only gets out to like 10 people right now, it's not really about my ego, but I want Mariners fans to hear this message. We have to figure out some way, on top of having a conversation with John Stanton as fans and Jerry Dipoto, or getting a message to them and actually being heard. We have to figure out a way to either, I'm not saying like an outright boycott, but like we've got to figure out a way to make our voices heard to ownership, to management, to tell this team that hey, as fans, we're not going to put up with a lack of spending money. And we don't need to give you money if you're not going to go spend the money that we give you. There's so many angles to that argument, though, unfortunately. You think of trying to talk to like a normal, I don't know, like a normal fanatic that you imagine, like 23, 24, 25-year-old guy or girl that's like got, Mariners everything, and they go to as many games as possible with the limited income that they have at that age, because when I was 23 through 25, I didn't really make much money at all. But I still, man, in Portland, was trying to get to as many Blazers games as I could. Thankfully, working in the media, was able to do that for free, was able to score some tickets, and that's kind of how, I was able to take care of that. But if you can't do that, you basically add in 10, 20, $30 here and there, just trying to get to a game to your budget, or taking that out of like your rent money or something really important to you at that age. And then, there's the young couples, there's the families, there's all different walks of fans that are obviously all spending different types of money and amounts of money on Mariners baseball. But we really have to have a legitimate talk with each other and with John Stanton and Jerry Dipoto about what the future of this organization holds. Because if there is no commitment, if there's just bullshit, if there are just lies, if there are no commitments from Mariners ownership, from Jerry Dipoto, president and general manager, and then Justin Hollander as well, to not only change the course of the way that they're trying to like build up their organizational philosophy, but also to just change the way that they spend money. I mean, we can talk about their offensive philosophy. It's not just like, hey, go buy a hitter and that's going to fix everything. Frankly, I am scared for any free agent hitter to sign here at this point in Seattle, because, well, guess what? The offensive approach probably going to absolutely wreck their career. So not going to happen unless you vastly, vastly overpay them. And that's something that many people in Seattle Mariners media have made the point with. I think Ryan Divish from the Seattle Times has been the loudest, saying, like, nobody wants to come here. Why would a really good offensive player want to come to Seattle, where he knows, and not only the Mariners organizational philosophy being flawed, say that was okay. Well, there's the marine layer of air that you have to deal with as well, that knocks down about 20-30% of your home runs that you're hitting and just turns them into outs, if not more. So there's a lot of things that players don't really want to do, and one of them is look bad on the field, right? And that would, I think, coming to Seattle, involve them looking bad at this point, unfortunately. So that's something, along with all the other like off-season changes that we're getting into here with the roster that are going to need to be made, but with the organizational approach that need to be made. Hopefully they can, fix some of like the aesthetic things, the batter's eye. You can't really change the marine air layer, but you can maybe try to figure out some kind of, wind tunnel to get through your stadium, or direct some sort of wind to right field to try to get the balls that are normally fly ball out up into the stands like they would be in other parks normally. I don't know. Take a page out of the Cleveland Guardians book. See if you can, remove some of the stuff from up above and grab some of that air and trap it into your stadium. But I'll tell you what, Mariners fans, it was a fun experience watching something that I've never seen in person as a Seattle Mariners fan, winning a division that last happened for the Mariners in 2001 in the 116-win, record-setting win season, by the way, in all of Major League Baseball, before they ended up getting ousted in the championship series to the New York Yankees. And I'm pretty sure the Yankees didn't even win the World Series that year. It was Randy Johnson and the Diamondbacks. So torture as a Mariners fan. I digress. But what experience last night at Dodger Stadium, it really, really made me want what I can't have. And I'm not saying that I want the Mariners to be Dodgers baseball, but frankly, I was embarrassed to be a Mariners fan walking around Dodger Stadium. I was embarrassed that I root for a poverty franchise, essentially, at this point. I was embarrassed that they've got, and hey, I'm not trying to knock Cal Raleigh here. I just had an amazing interview with the East Coast Dems, and I want the Mariners to be on Cal Raleigh very, very shortly here once the offseason gets going. I want them to re-sign him ASAP, and I want them not only to just get his arbitration numbers settled, but get him signed to an extension. Now, he is one of the only 30-plus home run a year catchers in baseball right now, and he has the potential to do that going forward, and he's still young, not quite hit his prime yet. But even with the ability to put the team on his back like he has, he's still not able to get it done himself for the Seattle Mariners. And when I look at, a team leader like Cal Raleigh is, and then I see he got 30 homers, 90-plus RBIs, stolen base caught stealing rate is about 31%. He's the best in all of baseball at framing strikes and stealing strikes. I think it's like a 46% framed strike rate or something like that. I Bleav that number is from East Coast Dems. Like I love my Cal Raleigh. I love my Mariners for reasons like those players, like Cal, like Julio, like now Victor Robles. But then I go and I see Will Smith, for instance, catcher for the Dodgers, who's hit 20 homers, I think, this year. It was his 20th home run last night to give the Dodgers a 3-2 lead over the Padres to get that win, or to lead them to that win. 7-2, I think, was the final over the Padres for them to win the NL West. But I just compare his numbers to Cal Raleigh's, like 20 home runs, 75 RBIs, and then I see back a couple of years, he had 25 home runs, and he's at about 80 RBIs. And he's on a team that is then also filled with the likes of Freddie Freeman, and Mookie Betts, and of course Shohei Ohtani, who's going to be pitching next year as well. I mean, every single person, young kid that came up and is doing super, super well, hit a home run that I saw, Andy Pages, like a number 9 in the lineup, 15 home runs, 250 average, and like 45, 50 RBIs. There is, and I understand that there's the fans kind of want, obviously Teoscar Hernandez hitting home runs for them as well. There's that fans want to have a star player at every position. And I am not asking for the Seattle Mariners organization to do that, nor do I think they should. That's, that's actually an organizational philosophy that the Portland Trailblazers tried in the NBA in the 99-2000 season, a little bit before that and beyond that as well with Trader Bob. But different than Trader Jerry. Trader Bob went out and really tried to get all the best players he could. The Portland Trailblazers had basically 2 lineups of starters, 10 deep. And that's kind of almost what it seems like, the Yankees and the Dodgers are like now. The Mets obviously paying everybody all that money. But it's not just the money. It's the organizational philosophy in LA. In fact, I would really, beyond the cash, guys, if the Mariners were willing to spend a little cash, that would get them somewhere. But I am scared that the right people are not running the Mariners organization. Hopefully with the installation of Dan Wilson in the dugout now, this will change, because one of the comments that Casey Sadler and his wife made on their podcast, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, that I talked about on Bleav in Mariners, really stuck out to me, because they mentions Dave Roberts specifically, Dodgers manager. And I know not everybody is in on him. I'm not quite sure why, because the post-game interview that I saw on the field with Dave Roberts after they'd clinched the NL West was one of elation and joy and just exuberating the love of being in the moment, like so authentically that you just can't help but like the dude. And there was no feeling like that ever with Scott Service. I'm sorry, even when the Mariners made the playoffs, he always had that little grin on his face. Seems like a great dude. I've heard that him and his wife and his family are great people. I am not denying that. But it takes, as Casey Sadler, I can't remember if it was him or if his wife said, it takes a manager that makes you feel like you are $1 million. Even if you're the 26th guy on the roster, Dave Roberts for the Los Angeles Dodgers makes you feel like a stud, makes you feel like a star. And I watched a team of players that feel like freaking stars. I don't think I've ever watched a team in Seattle that feels like that. And that has nothing to do with the money. That has to do with the organizational philosophy, with the approach that the organization has towards players. I would guess that Andrew Friedman probably treats players in Los Angeles way better just through the hallways and around the Dodgers facilities, treats them way better than Jerry Dipoto treats Seattle Mariners players. And it's probably not that hard because apparently, according to many different sources, Jerry Dipoto just does not talk to players, basically sits up in his high rise and treats them like little fantasy widgets. Guess what? Yeah, you can't run a franchise like that. I'm on the player's side. You've got to understand like what you're doing here and building a family and building a culture. And if you're going to take away from that culture to add, to that culture, then you've got to make sure it's the exact right move. Otherwise, you end up with a very disgruntled locker room, trading Kendall Graveman and Kyle Seager freaking out and then publicly stating, I haven't had a conversation with Jerry Dipoto, 3, 4, 5 seasons? Like, it's been such a slog of 10 years now, knowing that that this has basically been happening the whole time. And I didn't quite know that before. We're all kind of learning that together. I think some of the insiders did, but it's just been a slog knowing that this actually has been happening the whole time. And B, the greed and hubris at the top of this organization that we love, the Seattle Mariners, is killing them. Only spending 40% of their profits on salary is killing them. Not caring about going to a World Series is killing them. I watched a team that cares about going to World Series. And once again, it's not just about the money. And to that point, Mariners fans, we've really got to do something. We've got to band together. I don't really think that a boycott is necessarily the best way to do it. And I was seeing a thread on Twitter. I think it was Mariners Muse, or I'm not quite sure. I apologize if I am not correctly giving the credit where credit is due, but it was a tweet about basically, all right, fans, we've got to sack up. We've got to boycott. We've got to do something to show Jerry and John that we're not going to take this anymore. And one quote in response was, well, what am I going to tell my kid, that wants to go see Julio Rodriguez? And that's kind of at the beginning of the episode what I was getting into with the feeling of, okay, that there's a lot of different fans that want to go to games. There's the family of 4, there's the couples, there's the young kids that are just hanging out and, going to do stuff on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night with each other. And then, so it's like there's a point where all 3 of those different, or all 4 or 5, or however many different types of fans, there's a different point for everyone in those different little groups where they stop going, right? And I think the family of 4, unfortunately, I think all those people sitting around with some cash, I think those are going to be the ones that are kind of just the last hangers on supporting Mariners baseball through whatever, that we're going to have to try to convince, hey, your dollar is not necessarily going where it should. This team is not spending it in the way that it should be spent. And if those parents have to field questions about, oh man, Julio Rodriguez is my favorite player and I want to go see him. All right, you know what? You're going to go see him, but you're going to go see him on a value game, and you're going to go look at the clearance rack for new clothes and I'm not trying to say torture your kid. I'm trying to say torture the organization. And guess what? In response to that, there was even another even better tweet that said, well, boycotting worked so well for the Oakland A's. So then I think, okay, how can we spend less money on this Seattle Mariners organization? But then I see that kind of response on Twitter. Yeah, A's fans boycotted their team, and guess what happened to them? They left. And I'm not saying that would happen to Seattle, although I wouldn't be surprised. Very shrewd businessmen up there with Chris Larson and John Stanton running the Mariners. But would a boycott even work? Probably not. So how? This is why I'm saying we have to have a very deep conversation with each other and with John Stanton and Jerry Dipoto. And frankly, Jerry Dipoto and John Stanton need to come out and address the media publicly. They need to answer questions in a public forum in front of the media, not through a Zoom call, and really hear it from the fans. They've got to wear this at the end of the season. If they don't, I'm going to be pissed. And essentially, we do have to try to figure out what we can do. We have to try to come up with a plan how we can affect change for our favorite baseball team, because the minds at the top of this organization are not changing. I don't think they're going to be spending a bunch more money this offseason, which sucks, although it's not like there's a bunch of great free agents anyways. I hate Alex Bregman. I never want to see him in a Seattle Mariners uniform again. Seriously, I might buy a jersey just so I could burn an Alex Bregman Mariners jersey if he ever signed with Seattle. Keep him so far out of T-Mobile Park. That guy is a D-bag. He never apologized, even though he actually did apologize, but really like I'm so sorry for cheating. I can't believe that we got caught doing that. Yeah, Alex Bregman can go F himself, and I don't want him anywhere near the Mariners clubhouse. But yeah, there's not really many great free agents other than like Juan Soto, maybe Bregman, Pete Alonso, Paul Goldschmidt. I mean, there's like 6. There's less than there were last year. I think there were like 10 to 15 big hitters last year, big names that you were trying to grab off the free agent market. And this year there's like 6 to 8. So it's not like even if the Mariners did have money to spend, it would just be like a guarantee. Oh, they can go plop a couple of great hitters. And I'm assuming they will be, trying to put together a winning roster next year, just based on the fact that Jerry Dipoto now is forced up against the wall. Dude really didn't do it until he was forced to, which is frustrating in itself. And that's also another reason why I have major problems with the way this Mariners organization is run. And we as fans need to talk. We need to collectively decide how we can affect change with the Seattle Mariners ownership group and with Jerry Dipoto, because I was talking with my dad. We don't know. I don't know what a good plan is to do that. I'm sick of seeing 85-win seasons missing the playoffs or barely getting into the playoffs. I am sick of the 54% mentality ruling my team. And no, this is not a joke. Jerry Dipoto still literally believes, I'm sure, that 54% of the time getting wins will get you into the playoffs more often than not. Well, Jerry's been here how long? Almost a decade. They've been in once. The Mariners have existed almost 50 years. They'll be going on their 48th or 49th year of existence here soon. They have gotten to the playoffs 5 times. They have won one pennant, and they have gone to the World Series 0 times. 0. It's a joke on How I Met Your Mother. That is how bad the Seattle Mariners organization has been. And going to see the Los Angeles Dodgers, I am fully convinced that Mariners fans are, I will end it with this once again, are being fed gruel and being told that it's lobster. Stop buying the lie. Please, I beg you. We all need better from our baseball team. We all deserve better from our baseball team. Do you know how much Mariners gear is sitting in my closet from over the years? To the point of money, do you know how many thousands of dollars my father, me, my wife, my mother have spent just us on Mariners gear since I was 10, 15 years old? We're talking multiple thousands, at least 10,000, if not a little bit more. Yeah, that's over a period of time, but I don't know, the teal authentic jersey with my name on that I so badly wanted ended up costing like $360, $380 going right to Mariners baseball. And you should see the way that they do it down at Dodger Stadium, y'all, in LA. The way that they park and take so long to get into the stadium, and people don't even care. They're willing to pay the $35, they're willing to pay the $50, the $60 to park. That all, by the way, in profit goes to the Dodgers, but they don't care because the team wants to win. That's what you could have, Mariners. That's what you could have. If you didn't care about the money, if you cared about winning, then your fans wouldn't care about the money either. They would show up. They wouldn't care about their time. We're laying ourselves on the line too much for them, y'all. They're way too lucky to have us. And we've got to be better. We've got to be smarter. Because I'm sick of eating gruel. I am sick of it. I want to eat some freaking lobster as a Mariners fan. And that's going to do it. Really no stats on this episode, just some rants, but really more of a philosophical point of why I think the Mariners organization really needs a massive overhaul in philosophy and the way that they run things. Otherwise, it's going to be quite a long contract for Julio Rodriguez, basically. 82 wins as I tape this. Could get to 85. Julio hoping for like a 90-win season. Ugh. Appreciate everybody listening, though. Hopefully you do enjoy the final weekend of the regular season. If you're going, make sure you drink those value beers, still have a good time. I'm not trying to tell anybody not to enjoy Mariners baseball, but what I'm saying is we've got to figure out a way to be heard by ownership. And frankly, they've got to stop thinking that they can do things better than everybody else. And there's got to be a way that we can show them that, Mariners fans. Appreciate you all listening to this episode of Bleav in Mariners. Hey, still looking for a former Mariners player to be a co-host on this podcast. It's Really, really awesome to do it on my own, but I would so much better love to do it with a former Mariners player that can offer up all of the insight and a point of view that I just don't. So if you do want a media opportunity and you're listening and you're a former Mariners player or you know a former Mariners player, please reach out to me, reach out to Bleav. We'll get in touch with you and we'll make it happen. But we're going to wrap this one up. Hopefully we can hear about a nice big old Mariners sexy trade that they'll be doing in a couple of weeks or something. But I'm in my feels right now, Mariners fans, and I know y'all are too. But please enjoy the last weekend of the regular season. Stay safe and keep those tridents up, Mariners fans. Oh, make sure you leave a 5-star review, by the way, on the podcast as well as on the YouTube channel, a comment and a like. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not, and follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It's free, and you can always unfollow if you hate me at some point down the line. But stay safe out there and keep those tridents up, Mariners fans. See you soon.